Hello and welcome to CET 4884 Security Methods and Practice. In this session, we will continue addressing information security and the different approaches of implementing security. To implement information security in your organization, there are two main approaches, the bottom up approach and the top down approach. In the first approach, the bottom-up approach, the system administrators look at their system, see some problems, and they try to improve system security. They try to report it to the upper management. Uh, the system administrators are trying to work their way up. That's why it was called the bottom-up approach. Although this approach has the advantages or the advantage of the technical expertise of the individual administrators, it might not be supported by the upper management and decision makers. The lack of support could be due to budget issues or priorities that might not be disclosed to system administrators. Now, remember that the management has a bigger picture. With having the bigger picture for the overall organization, they will know other departments that has priorities or the overall budget for the company, so they will prioritize the implementation or the execution of a project from one department to another. In the second approach, which is called the top-down approach, there are higher probability to succeed. In this case, the project is initiated by upper management who issue policy procedures and processes dictating the goals and expected outcomes of the project and determine who's accountable for each of the required actions. Since this approach has strong upper management support, a dedicated champion, dedicated funding, clear planning, and it has the opportunity to influence organizational culture. The most successful top down approach also involves a formal development strategy referred to as systems development life cycle. This figure shows the direction of the arrows for the two approaches. The direction of the arrows to show from which direction the pressure for success is driven. The systems development lifecycle is a methodology for the design and implementation of an information system in an organization, which is based on defining system requirements, analyzing them, design the system, implement, and at the end, we need to measure. Then back to system requirements and so on. So we make a cycle to make sure that we are capturing all system requirements and the changes need to be made to the system. This methodology is a formal approach to solving problem based on structured sequence of procedures that will continue in a loop, and that's a continuous improvement process that will continue to be implemented in the company to make sure that we have all security measures. Whatever security measures we have, always we will have other maybe hackers or maybe someone that will try to get into the system, and we need to always evaluate the system to make sure that it's up to date. So using a methodology will ensure or ensures a rigorous process and avoids missing those steps that can lead to compromising the end goal. And our end goal is to create a comprehensive security organizational profile. And again, that goal is moving forward. So always, we have a new goal of adding security, adding measures to make sure that the system is up to date. This diagram shows the main phases of the system development life cycle, starting with investigating the system to determine information security or system security requirements. So we start with the requirements, and then once we collect the requirements, we move to analyzing system needs. Once we have the needs, or we understand exactly what we need in the system, we start the designing phase, which in this case it's a recommended system design that is logically and physically involved. And then we implement the new system or the new design. Then we evaluate the new system to identify any new problems or opportunities for improvement that happen due to that change, and so on. That's why it's called a cycle. So we continue with those phases. In the security system development lifecycle, we can adapt the same phases used in the traditional system development lifecycle to support the implementation of security project. The fundamental process is to identify the security issues and problems within the system, including, of course, the threats. In addition, alternative solutions and specific controls can be identified to counter these threats. The main purpose of the security life cycle is to unify the process of reacting to security breaches and make it a coherent program rather than a series of just random, seemingly unconnected actions. Investigation is the first and the most important phase of the system development life cycle. The investigation of the security life cycle begins with a directive from upper management dictating the process, the outcomes, and goals of the project, as well as the constraints placed on the activity. The initiation of the process comes with a full study of cost-benefit analysis to evaluate the perceived benefits and timelines of the project. So already at this point, the upper management knows the security issues, proposed solutions for that, the budget needed, and the time frame to finish the security update. An organizational feasibility analysis is performed to determine whether the organization has the resources and commitment necessary to conduct a successful security analysis and design. The feasibility study will include a statement of program security policy that outlines the implementation of security teams of responsible managers, employees, and contractors that are who will be organized, and problems that are analyzed, and of course the scope that will be defined, including goals, objectives, and constraints not covered in the program policy. In the analysis phase, the documents from the investigation phase are studied and additional analysis is performed. And the purpose of that is to verify existing security policies or programs. The analysis phase also includes an analysis of relevant legal issues that could impact the design of the security solution. Not only legal issues, but also all risk associated with implementing the new security measures. Any identified risk should include suggestions for alternative solutions and mitigation for that risk. The logical design phase creates and develops the blueprint for security, and it examines and implements key policies that influence later decisions. Also, at this stage, critical planning is developed to identify the actions required to respond to partial or catastrophic loss incidents. With all the known parameters, feasibility analysis determines whether or not the project should be executed by the company's IT team or need to be outsourced to a contractor or other companies from outside, like a third party. In the physical design phase, the organization should identify the technologies needed to support the implementation of the new security system, which includes hardware, software, and network devices. The selected components are evaluated based on a make or buy decision, develop in-house or purchase from outside. Alternative solutions are generated and the final decision is agreed on. Criteria needed to determine the definition of successful solutions is also prepared during this phase. Included at this time are the designs for physical security measures to support the proposed technological solutions. At the end of this phase, a feasibility study should determine the readiness of the organization for the proposed project. And then the champion and users are presented with the design. At this time, all parties involved have a chance to approve the project before implementation begins. In the implementation phase, this phase is considered as the security solutions that are acquired, whether we bought them or made them. It's tested, implemented, and tested again once we finish the implementation of that one. So with this phase, now we are implementing that solution, we are testing that solution, and we are making sure that it's working as intended. In addition, in this phase, employee educational programs will be developed for the training purposes. The implemented security solution will be presented to the upper management for final approval. Once been approved, users will be trained and supporting documentation will be created. Again, a feasibility analysis is prepared and the users are then presented with the system for performance review and acceptance test. The maintenance and change phase is a very important stage. Given the high level of creativity in today's threats, information being lost and restored on a constant basis, like a war between the bad and the good. As new threats emerge and all threats evolve, the information security profile of an organization requires constant adaptation to prevent threats from successfully penetrating sensitive data. Even after completing the current security project, the security system development lifecycle continues and the process begins again to identify new threats and new security issues as they appear in the system. In small businesses, one or two ITs might admin the network, maintain computers, and work as security professionals. In large organization, it takes a team of professionals with a wide range of expertise and different skills to support the organization information security program. To develop and execute special or specific security policies and procedures, additional administrative support and technical expertise is required. Starting from the senior management, the organization needs a chief information officer who is defined as a senior technology officer and might also be recognized under the other titles such as Vice President of Information, Vice President of Information Technology, or Vice President of Systems. The Chief Information Officer is the one responsible for advising the Chief Executive Officer, President, or company's owner on the strategic planning that affects the management of information in the organization. Another individual who might be recognized in the organization is the Chief Information Security Officer, who's responsible for the assessment, management, and implementation of securing the information in the organization. The Chief Information Security Officer may also be referred to as the Manager of Security, the Security Administrator, or any other similar titles. The Information Security Project Team includes individuals who are experienced in one or multiple areas of security, whether technical or non-technical areas. Starting from the top down, the team will include the champion, who is the senior executive who promotes the project and ensures its support both financially and administratively at the highest level or levels of the organization. The team leader, and he's considered the project manager, who may be a departmental line manager or staff unit manager, who understands project management, personnel management, and information security technical requirements. Security policy developers, who are individuals that understand the organizational culture, policies, and requirements for developing and implementing successful policies. Risk assessment specialists, and those are the people who understand financial risk assessment techniques, the value of the organization assets, and the security methods to be used. Security professionals are the people who are dedicated, trained, and well-educated specialists in all aspects of information security from both technical and non-technical standpoints. The systems administrators, those are the people with the primary responsibility for administering the system that house the information used by the organization. And of course, the end users, those are the one who will be using the new system, and of course, they will be the most impacted people. Ideally, a selection of users from various departments, levels, and degrees of technical knowledge assist the team in focusing on the application of realistic controls applied in ways that do not disrupt the essential business activities they seek to safeguard. Those users will give you the feedback on what works for them, what doesn't work, and we have to adhere to their requirements. Now remember, you want this information to be available, but again, you need them to be secured. So with that line between availability and securing the information, we have to work with the end user to make sure that those information can be accessible and will not block their daily business activities. The most important part of the system that needs protection is the data that will be entered and that will be used or utilized and stored in that system. Data that has critical information. Part of the team will own the safeguard the data of that data, while another part of the team use it with different levels of access. Based on that, we can identify 3 entities in the system that will be directly related to data as part of their responsibility. First, the data owner, who is responsible for the security and use of a particular set of information. Data owners usually determine the level of data classification associated with the data. as well as changes to that classification required by organization change. The other entity is data custodian, who's responsible for the storage, maintenance, and protection of the information. The duties of data custodian often include overseeing data storage and backups, implementing the specific procedures and policies laid out in the security and implementing the specific procedure and policies laid out in the security policies and plans and reporting to the data owner. Data users and those individuals are the end system users who work with information to perform their daily jobs supporting the mission of the organization. Everyone in the organization is responsible for the security of data, so data users are included here as individuals with an information security role. With large organizations, each organization develops and maintains its own unique culture and values within that corporate culture. There are communities of interest. These include information security management and professionals, information technology management and professionals, organizational management and professionals. One of the questions that might be asked about information security is it an art or a science? Looking at the complexity of information systems and many cases, the implementation of information security has been described as a combination of art and science. Designing the system is considered an art that differs from one person to another, and there are no set in stone rules that regulates how you install various security mechanisms. Actually, you cannot find many universally accepted complete solutions that can be used as standard template to follow. The design of each organization's system differ with the organization requirements and culture. While there are many manuals to support individual systems, once these systems are interconnected, there is no magic user's manual for the security of the entire system. This is especially true with the complex levels of interaction between the users, policy, and technology controls. At the same time, we consider the implementation of information security as science that has been developed by computer scientists and engineers, a technology designed to perform at rigorous levels of performance. In addition, there are some scientific conditions that cause all actions that might happen in computer systems. Almost every fault, security hole, and systems malfunction is a result of the interaction of specific hardware and software. With the feedback from computer users, developers can improve the system and resolve or even eliminate these faults if possible. There is a third view that considers security as social science. A social science examines the behavior of individuals as they interact with systems, whether societal systems or, in our case, information systems. Since in a security system, people inside the organization interact with the developed system by understanding how they interact or behave, security administrator can reduce the risk. Based on the known behavior, security administrator can develop a plan to mitigate any security issues. From your personal opinion, which one do you think is more accurate about security? Is it an art? Is it a science? Or is it a social science? Or do you think it's a mix of all? With that, we end our session. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email to discuss any issues related to this session. Thank you and have a great day.